you doing? Okay, this video, I was going to make two videos because there's a bit of shenanigans from what I can gather going on here with the whole TFE thing. But instead I'm going to make it all into one video. Now, I'm going to do my best to try and make the video not be 10 hours long, right? But I have to go through a couple of things. Okay, let's just get into it. So there's no time wasted. Excuse me. By the way, I might be coming through a bit funny on the audio as I have an infection kind of thing going on with my, blocked nose and sore throat and all that kind of stuff. So I have a bit of that going on. Okay, into the shenanigans. This here is the coordinates for what they call a halfway point or the observation camp. This here, that's the given coordinates now, right? I'm not saying they're definitely the coordinates. This will make more sense in a while. This here is the coordinates that are given for the base camp, right? Where all the tents and that are, right? That's where Mount Rossman, the foot of Mount Rossman there. I'm just going to pull this way slightly, right? If just to prove that the coordinates are correct, these coordinates here from the final experiment from Will Duffy's own 20 whatever minute drone footage that has telemetry data placed onto it by Where's Wally, right? That's okay. Remember, this is okayed by Duffy. Duffy gives his seal of approval on this telemetry data, okay? And to get the base camp coordinates, I got them from Dave McKeegan. So here are the base camp coordinates, right? So we have two sources for, and these are all the coordinates up here, both coordinates. So these ones are from Will Duffy's video with the telemetry data placed on it from Where's Wally. These here I got from Dave McKeegan. Okay, so I'm not making anything up, right? The distance between the two camps, according to the coordinates, is 2.52 kilometers. The distance from the peak of Mount Rossman to the base camp is 3.42 kilometers, right? Based off of those coordinates, that's what it is. Now, if we go back to the path a second, according to the path, right, information and the elevation data, right, where the base camp is 767 meters, right, elevation, and the observation camp, or what they call halfway point, is 732, right? You can put the coordinates in yourselves. That would mean that that's a 35 meter difference, so that's 115 feet, basically 114.82. We'll say 115 feet. So there's 115 feet of elevation difference between those 2 points, according to the coordinates we're given. Now, let me just go to here, right? This is Will Duffy's drone footage, right? And this is not the one from Wally, this is the one from Will Duffy, the 20 whatever minute one, right? Now, I will link this in the and any other relevant things, material, I'll link them in the description after. Okay, let me just show you something here, right? Now, as you can see, this is over here, it's a 1015 minus 115 foot per minute elevation. So I'm not sure if that is the elevation or if it's a drop rate, because I don't own a drone. But down here, right, down here, it's claimed this is the telemetry data. So this is claimed to be the elevation or the altitude. And it says 1,525, right? It's going to move it on a little bit. And now it says 632, right? This is all in feet, right? Because obviously the lowest is going to be 0 foot. And the highest elevation is going to be, according to Will Duffy, that they got to 4,922 feet in elevation with the drone. So I'm just going to move it on a little small bit. Now, 334 feet. So A little bit more, right? Now it's 119 feet elevation, right? The drone, according, right? So I'm just going to play this a second, right? It's going down. It's down into the 70s, 60s, 50s is that they're stopping at the 50s, and now it's down into the 30s. So at the 50s, it stopped. It stopped at 59 for whatever reason. It just stopped. Why did it do that? Seems a bit strange. Why did it stop? Watch it again. 59, it just stops. Now the drone is still going down, but the whole thing stops and then starts up again, right? And there's at 19 feet. I keep it going. 16 feet, 15 feet. Now you can see, right, at 15 feet, according to this, it's 15 feet elevation, right? And you can see the camp over there, the base camp, right? Now at 59 foot, it stopped and the drone dropped by whatever amount. It says 15 feet here. It's saying 20 foot up here, right? I'm going to stick with what's down here, as that's the telemetry data that was placed on there by Where's Wally, and it's okayed by Will Duffy, so we'll stick with that one down there. You can still see the camp over here, right? The base camp, right? Where all the tents are. That's where that is, right? These are all the tents. You can see all the little tents sticking up. They're like 4 foot or something high, right? And keep it going. It gets down to 14 foot, right, in elevation. So according to them, this is 14 foot in elevation. Now, it's not 14 foot in elevation. I'll show you why. It goes to 0 now. Now, that's not a 0, right? It's saying it's 0 now in elevation. But there's the base camp. So how can that be 0? It's still not on the ground. So I keep it going an hour a bit and watch the camp, watch that base camp. Right, we'll keep watching it. And I'll stop it in a minute. And as it comes into the horizontal view, all right, as you can see as well, something else I must point out. The pitch of the drone is 0, right? And the pitch of the camera underneath the drone is 0, right, at this point. So this is horizontal view, right? The pitch of the drone and the pitch of the camera are both horizontal, right? 0, because pitch is from 0, from horizontal. So 0 is horizontal. So as it goes down, now you can start seeing, keep it going a bit, it comes back a little bit, all right, and you can see the tripods here. Now, just what it did there, just a second, right? This is not all conspiratorial. I'm going to show you something. See the way it comes back? Now, that's not shown here. That wasn't shown there, right? Whatever it was doing, right? It didn't appear to that the drone went back. It appeared like the camera tilted slightly different. But either way, right, we come down to this point. Now you can still see, right, over here, you can see the base camp, right? Now there's the bin, there's the tripods, right? We know they're like 4 foot or whatever, right? So there's the tripods, there's the bin. You can see them more clearly, right? It's been saying that it's at 0 elevation for the past 20 foot of drop or whatever it is, right? And here we are, right? You can still barely see the top of the camp over there, barely. You can just see the very tops of the tents, right? Here is a porta cabin. I'm just going to go back slightly. I know this is a bit tedious, but it's important. So you can see the base camp there. You can see the base camp. Now, at this point, you can still see the base camp, the tops of the tents. And according to the details here, the telemetry on the screen, the pitch of the drone is 0 and the pitch of the camera is 0. So you're just going to stop it. Now, we're coming into the top. You can just start seeing the top of one of the porta cabins here, and you can still see the tents over there, right? Sorry, you might hear my cat, one of my cats. She wants to be playing when I'm doing a video all the time. So you can still see all that, right? You can see the top of the porta cabin here. So at this point here, they're about 15 foot in elevation. Like, I can recognize that because I've stood up where my oil line is 15 foot, and this is what it would look like. I'll give them 20 foot if they need me to, but it's, as far as I'm concerned, that's 15 foot, right? Because here is a porta cabin. So you can still see the tops of the base camp over there. Now, this is the problem. This is the first thing I want to point out. Sorry, stop it, you. The first thing I want to point out is this, right? There is a 35-meter difference in elevation, right? Between, this is what, according to the coordinates we got, between this point and this point, there's 35 feet of, or 35 meters. That's 115 feet, right? So, one second now. I'm just going to minimize this and minimize this. So, here I have an arrow placed at 15 feet off of this point, right? So, that's about 15 feet. And I have it looking straight, because the drone is looking straight. The drone is horizontal, and the pitch of the camera is horizontal. So, how the hell, right? How the hell is the camera looking horizontal and seeing this point up here? Because the camera would have to be pitching up this way, and at that point it wouldn't be able to see it, because whatever's up there is not high enough. They're not going to be able to see the tents, but the camera is pointed this way and it can see the tents, right? There's no if buts, or maybe it can see the tents. The only thing that's stopping the camera seeing the tents, right? The only thing that's stopping it is the angular size, right? So the different, right? That's the only thing. So at the distance between those 2 points is between those 2 points, the two camps is 8,267.72 feet, and a tent at the size of 4 foot has an angular size of 0.02772 degrees. That would be about correct. Now I know it's not with the human eyes, it's with the drone, but that would be correct. That at that distance, a 4 foot high tent would start in your horizontal view, right? Is going to start going into your going to reach the angular resolution limit of the eye, right? Eventually, right? At that distance, it would be starting to do that, which is exactly what we're seeing. Now we all know the perspective is not part of globe maths, right? We all know that. Here is the globe maths. There's no perspective involved. They try and add in some angular size nonsense here, but they're not addressing anything. It's a heap of rubbish, right? There is no, in any of this geometric horizon, geometric drop, hidden, horizon dip, there's no perspective involved in any of these maths, right? These are the globe maths for Earth curvature. There's no perspective involved. So perspective, the fact that there's perspective shown debunks that it's a globe to begin with, right? We don't need to actually go past that point, but we will, right? Because this is more about the tomfoolery and the shenanigans of the TFE, right? So this is be correct. It's matching the angular size, right? And the angular resolution limit. It's starting to match that within the footage. Now, the point being is that how can those coordinates be correct and those elevations be correct if looking horizontally from about 15 foot, because there's the top of that porta cabin, that's about 8 foot, right? That porta cabin there is about 8 foot. I'm just going to make the screen, make it bigger. That's about 8 feet, right? Even if you brought them up to 20 feet, it wouldn't make any difference. They won't be seeing something that's 115 feet above the ground here. They're not going to see that, because it means that there's a 95 foot of an incline, right? So that straight away tells me that there's an issue with the coordinates we're given, that there's an issue with the distances and an issue with the elevations, right? Because if those were correct, there's no way that that drone could be seeing that. Now I'm just going to press play for a second. Now look, as you can see, it's still 0 on the camera, as in its pitch, and 0 pitch on the drone. Like, you can still barely see if you squint and look in, if you zoom in, you can barely see the tops of the tents, right? Now, I know there's a little bit of topography between that and that, but you can see the tops of the tents. And if I just play it right through, right, it's only about now that you don't get to really see it when it's looking horizontally, right? Now you can't really, you can barely see something, but it's there's very, very little to see, because whatever tiny bit of topography is there, with the drone and the way the camera is working, it's stopping you seeing you can kind of see the very tops if you squint and look, right? But the point is the drone is now below the elevation of the porta cabin here, right? So my issue is this, that those coordinates that we're given, right, these are supposedly the correct coordinates. These are from Will Duffy. You got these from Dave McKeegan. Now, Dave McKeegan would have had to get them from someone else, right? Or unless he just made them up, right? Now, I'm not accusing him of doing that, right? I would accuse Will Duffy of making stuff up, but I wouldn't accuse Dave McKeegan as fast of making something up, right? But they were the coordinates he gave me. You saw me showing this. How can there be, right, a 35-meter difference in elevation between this point and this point, and we're still seeing the camp horizontally at a height of 10, 15 feet, right? And I showed with the angular resolution, with the angular size change, that a 4-foot tenth at that distance between those 2 points is going to start reaching the angular resolution limit, right? I showed that. So I don't know, like, right, we know perspective is real. So, you know what I mean? To me, this is the first point I'm making. To me, something is rotten in Denmark, as they say, right? There's no way that these two coordinates can be correct and the elevations between them be correct, and we're looking at that on that footage. That's just not possible, right? Because it can't. It's just like there's the arrow. Sorry, there's the arrow from a 15 foot above this point, right? No matter what you do, that rise up here is going to be so much higher. There's no way. Like the drone is going to have to tilt up this way, and even at that, it's not going to be able to see what you're looking to see, right? It won't happen, right? It's looking horizontally, right? Now I notice the scale is a little bit out here because obviously the scale is more, the scale here is more crushed in, right? So the scale is out, but I'm pressing. I can, if I just go into here, right? 1 second. Oh, I don't want to do that. Right. Right. If I just go to here, see if I can get this to work for me. Right. If I bring down the scale, right, if I bring down the scale here, right, it'd be harder placing the 15 foot because I'm bringing down the scale. Right, I have to bring up the scale to place in the 15 foot, right, in here. But the point is that no matter what way you work it, there's no way that there's a 95 foot rise above that drone when it's just over that port cabin. Right? Because there's no way it's going to be able to see that. It just can't. You can't see up and over the top of a hill. Right? Now, I'm not saying there's no undulations on the ground in between those 2 points, but this point here and this point here, what we're given as distances to them, or these coordinates, whatever, just do not, in my mind, they just do not match here. Something is very not right here. There's no way we could have that differential there with that elevation. Just no way that's possible, right? You can't do that. You can't see, right, that far and over a hill of that much of an elevation above you. That's just not possible. Just to show, right, some scale GeoGebra, right? Here is 15 foot, right? 15 foot, right? This is 8,226 feet of distance between this point and this point, right? So here is, right, 115. This is the base camp according to the coordinates and Google Earth, and here is the drone over the port cabin. Like, there is no way, just no way, that drone is able to see that camp if those coordinates and those elevations are correct. That just cannot happen, right? No, right? That is just not happening. It won't happen. You won't see over that hill that's in the distance, right? That's after rising up in front of you. It won't happen. So straight away, I'm calling a problem on those coordinates, right? And the details were being given about TFE. Now I'm going to move on to the next issue, right? If I just go back here a sec, right, back to about here, right? Now, just to this point, right? There's a rock here, if I just go back slightly more. This is 8 kilometers supposedly from the base of Mount Rossman. Sorry about my voice. So that's 8 kilometers supposedly from the base of Mount Rossman, right? This is what we're given by Google Earth, right? if I just play this on a second, leave it play, and it's turning around, you'll start seeing, right, there is part of the airport or something over here, or their station, the station over there, and here is the base camp. Now remember, this is from Will Duffy, so this is the camp that we were just seeing a minute ago, right? This is it, this base camp here, right? This is what we were seeing. They're supposed to be 115 feet above the elevation of the other one. Yet at a 15-foot drone, a 10-foot, 9-foot drone elevation, we're still seeing the thing, right? Right? Watch the drone as it comes around. Now this is my next point. This is also, and this is something that was bothering me already, but now it's really not making any sense, right? Keep an eye on that camp, right? And as it comes around, look at this mountain. Look at the peak, right? You'll see it there in a second. Now I know it's a little bit difficult to state. I know it's a little bit difficult to measure it and whatever. But if this mountain here is 750 meters above Union Glacier, and because those elevation changes will take away 20 meters or whatever, so we'll say 730 meters above this base camp here, right? If that's 730 meters above that base camp, right, then how can that, let's just go back and see on Google Earth what the distance is to the coordinates and see if this matches, right? 1 second now. So if I just go to here and get that. So what I want is, I want to get, just let me pull this down here. I want to take this and move it up into here. So I just want to match it up there pretty good. Right, that's pretty good of a match, right? And I want to come back out, right? Now, what this is it's starting here, right? This is at the base camp, and the elevation is running up the mountain, right, to the peak, right? So if we come down here to about there, maybe here, right? Maybe about there is about, you're talking about 2.12 kilometers, right? 2.12 kilometers, right, of distance, basically. So 2.12 kilometers, we'll say, from the base to the base camp, the base of the mountain, sorry, to the base camp. We could even say 2.25, right, from the, but we'll say we go halfway between that. So 2.12 kilometers, right? And so if that is 2.12 kilometers, right, between the peak here and the base camp, between the base of the mountain and the base camp, mixing myself up, right, then, right, how can this be 750 meters, right? Because if you take that height there and you lay it out here, right, from the base out the way, it's going to be out to about here, easily, right? So how can this be 2.12 kilometers from this part over here? How can it be 2.12 kilometers from the base of the mountain here, if this is 730 meters above it? There's no way that, because for just 1 second, right? Just give me this a second. It's going to edit, turn off convert. Right, so 2, right, 0.12, right, divided by, let's just say 730 meters, 30, right, right. Oh, sorry, I should have done it the other way around, right. I should have done 2012, right. Let's say 2012, that'll do, right. Divided by, not to waste time, 730, right, equals 2.7 times, right? You're talking 2.7 times, right? Almost 2.75, right? So we'll go with 2.75. So that would mean that according to, right, those coordinates, this base is 2.7 times the distance between here and here of the height of the mountain. Now, there's no way that's 2.7 times, because if you took the height of the mountain there and placed it laterally here, once we bring it out to here, twice we bring it straight, we'll bring it past, way past the camp, and then you have the extra bit on top of it. So there's no way that camp is 2.7 times the height of that mountain in distance from its base. So what's going on? Right? That cannot, I know it's a little bit difficult with perspective and all that, it may not be 100% correct, but there's no way this mountain is 730 meters above this point, and this portion here be 2.12 kilometers. No, that's not happening. So I don't trust the coordinates we're getting. I'm not laying blame directly at anyone's door, particularly. Obviously, I wouldn't trust Will Duffy, but there's no way the height of this mountain, right, will divide into that distance there 2.7. What was it? 2.75 times. That's almost 3 times. There's no way the height of that mountain is that this distance here is almost 3 times that height. Just no way. So how can those 2 points? I just show again, right? This here, right, according to those coordinates, like here, even it looks like there's no way that that's possible. Now it's hard to tell because these two are stitched together, right? They're stitched together, so there's not a correct representation of whatever we're supposed to be looking at. But if this distance here is supposed to be 2.12 kilometers, right? Even if we took this mountain height here and placed it there, right? There's no way. There's 3 times that mountain height there is going to even match that distance, right? But if you look at the distance between this point and the mountain, I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Look at the distance between this point and the mountain, right? Sorry. And look at the distance there, like, and the proximity, right? To me, it just doesn't match up. There's no way that this mountain, in comparison to this camp, looks way bigger in comparison to this camp. And if you stretched it out here, that once stretching out of the mountain laterally, 750 meters would make it to the camp, and the second one would make it way past. And if you add on another 7.5, I mean, you're almost talking 3. So I don't see how it's possible. I don't see how it's possible that those coordinates are correct. I just don't see how it is possible that those coordinates place that mountain to the base of that mountain there, 2.12 kilometers from those coordinates. So there's problems with both these coordinates because of the elevations, because there's no way that they would be able to see over 90 with a 15-foot high of a drone. There's no way they're looking straight at a camp that's 95 foot above it. This is not happening. Number one. So that's the first problem. The second problem is that these coordinates give a distance from the base of the mountain that doesn't make any sense, especially when you look at the drone footage. And so I would maintain that both this camp and this camp are closer to the mountain than the coordinates are giving, right? And I definitely would maintain that the elevation data behind these 2 points is not correct, as is shown by the drone footage, because I don't see how they could be correct. Right? There's no way to have a 90 to 95 foot elevation change in front of you, and you'll be able to see it directly with a horizontal camera and horizontal drone. It's just not possible. And I do find it very strange. I do find it strange that this drone was stopped. That at 59 feet, it just stopped when it was going down. It just go back here again, right? So it's after going to 0 already there, right? Right. We play it again, and it goes right down, and it gets to 59 feet and just stops. Why is it stopped at 59 feet? Now, it's stopped. It's going down, and it starts up again. Why did it stop at 59 feet? Now, I don't know if, as I said, I don't know if I said it earlier, if you can start the drone to be 0 elevation above the ground, right? I don't know if you can just start it, like say you fly it overhead 10, 15, 20 foot, and you can say, well, but start from that point, we call that 0, right? Maybe you can do that, right? Maybe you can do that, right? I don't know. But one thing is for certain, the heights the altitudes we're seeing here, right? 15 foot, that can't be 14 foot, right? If that's 14 foot, that makes no sense, right? So it's never gone to 0. If it's at 0, right, yeah, it's still going down. So when it gets down to about 15 foot, I'll stop it. Right, it's going down. We can still clearly see the camp. Remember, there's 4 foot high tents over there. Right, 4 foot. Right, and that's supposed to be 2.52 kilometers away. Right, and there is a change of perspective in some way. Now, you're still totally seeing the camp there. The drone can be no more than 20 foot high here. You're still totally seeing that camp over there. Right, you can still see a certain amount of 3D information with it. It's not after going into your horizontal. See, this is what happens when something goes into your horizontal totally. It starts losing its three-dimensional. It starts losing its three-dimensional view, if you understand what I mean. It starts becoming two-dimensional because it's becoming horizontal. Right? You can still see the tops of stuff over there, and this is at most 18 foot, I'd say. Right, and now it's maybe 11 foot. You can still see the tops of stuff over there. Like there's no way that's 115 foot above this, right? And there's no way that the both of them are that distance from this mountain. This mountain looks too big for both of them to be at that distance, and there's no way, as I said when I showed earlier, right, that mountain here, that's the full peak of the mountain up here, that almost 3 times that is the distance between here and here. Even if you took the distance off over here to the left, you'd have to take 3 times the height of the mountain to get to there. You'd have to start off over to the left of the mountain to get 2.7 times the height of the mountain in length to reach over there. There's just no way that's going to happen. Right, so I'm calling BS on some of this because I don't see how the mountain height can fit into that almost 3 times. No. So I don't know what's going on. I'm not claiming the whole thing is fake, but I am claiming shenanigans. I'm not pointing the finger at anyone specifically. Not yet. But I am claiming shenanigans. Something is definitely rotten in Denmark. Something is definitely amiss. And as I showed earlier, angular size change of the tents, that what we're seeing would match that. Perfect. Right? If it was at that distance. So we don't even know if it's at that distance. But one thing is for certain, I don't trust the elevation data because you can't, based off of what we're seeing. And I don't trust the distances we're given from the mountain. Right? Because something is not, that mountain is too big here in view to fit into this area here almost 3 times. I know there's a perspective issue, and remember that doesn't exist on the globe, right? I understand that, but this is just not possible to be almost 3 times that. And there's no way that those two coordinates can have that much of an elevation difference between them, and the drone be down at about 11 foot and be looking at the tops of the tents. Like, I'm sorry, just no. So there's definitely problems and shenanigans. Okay, I'll let the video go at that because it's going on pretty long. Thanks for watching. Just a little bit at the end, just a very small amount. Something very small. I just want to add in, this is the 36-hour time lapse. Just want to add in this, a little bit of this, into the video. Do you believe that those tents are 3 times the distance, or 3 times the length of that mountain here, in distance away from them? In distance away from the base there? Or do you think that they're a lot closer, like I do? Look, where's the shadow? Where is the shadow? I mean, I do think that the coordinates are wrong and these tents are much closer to the base of that mountain. Where is the shadow? Where's the shadow? At this point, there should be a shadow of the mountain hitting those tents, crossing over those tents. Where is it? Shenanigans.